All right, back in the saddle, guys. Got another round of photos for you. I think you're gonna like what you see. Hang on. Ah, look at this buck. Big, deep chest. Look at his belly sticking out. Look how wide he is across the hips and the flank and the back and the shoulders. His neck's marginal. Probably a 4, maybe a 5-year-old deer. I see a deep skull. I see white hair on his side like his sideburns. His nose, it's not blunt, but it's not pointed. So again, 4, maybe a 5-year-old deer. Outstanding buck. He's got at least one forked brow tine. Looks like he may have something going on maybe on the left G2. Again, he's got, what, 7 points on the right, 6 on the left. Pretty good 13-point buck. But I'm not real confident from this picture that he's, post-mature or ready for harvest. He might need one more year. And there's where the difference between deer hunting and deer management comes on. I'd like to look at this deer from trail cameras or video and really get a good read on him. But his body is mature. I just don't know that he's old enough to harvest. This is a great deer indeed. Look at that red sandy soil in LaSalle County. And it's been raining. You can see the deer tracks in the background. So you probably know when and where this photograph was taken just about. Don't look at those forked brow tines. Don't look at that mule deer fork on the right G2. This is a young deer. This is a tremendous 3-year-old. I'm calling him 3 because his antlers are yellow, light colored, almost no mass. Look at that long pointed nose. Look at that skinny shoulders. Look at the skinny neck. And look back there in his body. He has a little tail. His rump falls off. This is just a big heavy doe with antlers for all practical purposes. See how big his ears look in relation to his head? This deer is nowhere near mature, but again, here is a future monster trophy deer. Fork right G1 and double brows fork. This is a great deer. You just can't shoot him this year or next year. Oh, this is really a neat deer. I took this picture in Webb County. Running away, big, fat, wide muscles. Did you even notice that blonde tail? Not many people would have. Kind of looks like a mule deer, doesn't he, from the tail? Look at this great big fork antlered right G2, long main beams, great brow tines. It looks like at least 10, 11 typical points. You're looking at a 168, 171, 172. This is a great deer. Fully mature. If you want a trophy for the wall, here's your deer. Oh man, look at this deer, guys. Great deer. This deer is Maverick County. You can kind of see the black mane going down his neck, the charcoal gray. Look how black his tail is. Big body, deep chest, saggy belly. Now look at the jowls. Look under his jaw. You see all that loose skin? You notice how gray it is, coloration. Look how small his ears look in relation to his head. Now let's look at the antlers. Oh lordy, I see points going everywhere. He's at least a typical 11, 10 or 11. Got a couple of forks going on. He's got great brow tines. Only thing this deer is missing is really more mass. I mean, that's not to say he's a bad deer. He just has average mass. But again, if you're looking for a trophy for the wall, trophy of the lifetime, here he is in Maverick County. Oh, this is a neat picture. Look at the size of the body of this buck. If you've never seen a mature buck in your life, this is what one looks like. This deer probably would even be classified as post-mature. You can put a saddle on this thing. Look at the beautiful coloration. But look behind his ears. Behind his ears and in front of his shoulders, you see the ripple effect? That's all fat and loose skin. You see the loose skin below his eyes, his jowls? Can you see the hump in his nose and how blunt his nose looks, like a blunt or a used pencil? This is probably a post-mature buck. Now let's look at the antlers. This is probably a buck on the decline. I don't know this buck. I didn't see him last year. But based on his body, his skeletal conditions, I suspect he was probably better last year than he is this year. So in other words, you got the breeding out of him. He's done his job. His warranty's up, if you would. It's time to cash this deer in. So he probably was a better deer last year, but man, he's a great deer this year. 10 clean, typical points, great brows. Beams are getting short, tines are getting short. This deer's warranty's out, the number's up. Harvest him. This is a great buck. Here's another one that'll cause your blood pressure to rise. I see a thin neck. I see bony shoulders, thin hips, little belly. Quit looking at the antlers, look at the body. Long pointed nose, sharp facial features, no gray hair in the face. And what is he? A 7x7? Holy moly, this is a great deer. You don't see many of these deer. This deer is probably 4. He could be an outstanding 3-year-old, but I think he's probably a 4-year-old. But his body looks 3. Either way, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't harvest this deer either as a 3 or a 4-year-old. But here's another Boone and Crockett, or near Boone and Crockett, when he grows up. What a great, great deer. Here's another neat deer that'll get your attention. Now he's fat, but look at his shoulders, look at his neck, and look at his nose. His belly's fat, his back is fat, but his shoulders are lacking muscle. His neck is tight. You don't really see a lot of loose skin, but look at that face, that nose, long and pointed. It's not that wide. He doesn't have that much antler mass, but man, he's 22, 23 inches inside. He's got 7 on the left and 6 on the right. Only thing wrong with this deer is he's got short brow tines. But geez, this is a great deer. But again, he should not be harvested this year. This is a super typical young buck. Here we go again. I see thin neck, light shoulders. Looks like he's hit a barbed wire fence a couple times, losing a lot of hair in the back. That doesn't mean always that he's old. He's got a little bit of a belly, but look at his butt. His rump is real thin, real tight, his hips, if you would. And this is all pre-rut pictures. These aren't post-rut or anything, so he has not lost weight. We've had a lot of rain. This deer, I believe, was in McMullen County. And again, look at that right side. This is a true double main beam. It's coming out of his right pedicle. Obviously, it was early antler damage. So let's look at his left side. I see a short main beam. I see short 5 typical tines. Brow tines are great, but everything else is pretty short. But because he's so unique, he should have had probably 10 points, but now he's a 9 with that double main beam. I would not shoot this deer. I'd give him another free pass. He'll shed this antler. What a great trophy shed antler to find a double main beam that's 17 inches long like this guy. I'd let this deer go and put a bounty out for that shed horn. That'd be a really neat deal. But I think this deer's too young to harvest. He's already showing, like I say, 9 or 10 points, great brow tines, good spread. I'd let this deer go. I would not harvest this deer. Alrighty, we're going to end it right there, and I will see you on the flip side. We'll see you in a bit.